In the swirling chaos of American politics, few figures embody the stark contradictions of leadership like Minnesota's Governor Tim Walz. But there are many chomping at the bit, willing to step up to the plate and snatch home run balls out of little kids' hands. And this next one tells Tampon Timmy to step aside and hold my beer. If you will, humor me and name a bigger embarrassment and greater failure than Don Lemon.
The president said he wants to send troops here to Maryland. What do you think? Baltimore into Maryland?
I'm not opposed of it.
Right.
I think it'll be a good idea.
Why so?
Maybe we can clean up some of this crime-ridden neighborhoods.
Yeah.
You know,
Is the crime bad?
very bad, atrocious, and I'm out of breath. So you have
Yeah.
to
I see you were running. You got your prayer rug. Yeah.
Right, I'm on my way to Juma.
Yeah.
It'll be a breath of fresh air.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
It'd be a breath of fresh air. Wasn't the response that he was expecting. And it was too late to pull the tape and cut the mic. So this honest black man just said what everyone else is already thinking. And Don Lemon just accidentally aired the Baltimore man's street interview where he said it would be a good idea for President Trump to send the National Guard to Baltimore. And I'd say if it were my city that had been run into the ground by feckless Democrats doing the opposite of leadership, I would too be not against sending in the National Guard to restore order. Did you know that if Trump fixes the crime problem in Chicago, the city would lose $800 million of federal funds for crime prevention? Kind of makes you wonder how much of that Johnson and Pritzker are lining their pockets with, says American Papa Bear's contribution. Mind-blowing to think, but Tim Walz is pouring gasoline on the fire and said there's nothing normal about the president declaring war on an American city.
That's fake news. When you say that, darling, that's fake news.
Well, why would
I
you
don't
the
go to
Department
war.
of Defense?
Listen, be quiet. Listen. You don't listen. You never listen. That's why you're second rate. We're not going to war. We're going to clean up our cities. We're going to clean them up so they don't kill 5 people every weekend. That's not war. That's common sense.
Just recently, Tim Walz took to social media to decry what he sees as overreach, stating there's nothing normal about the president declaring war on an American city. This pointed criticism came amid reports of President Trump considering federal interventions in troubled urban areas such as Portland or Chicago to address ongoing crime and unrest. Yet, this stance rings hollow when viewed through the lens of Walz's own record during the tumultuous summer of 2020, a period that saw American cities, particularly Minneapolis, engulfed in flames, riots, and widespread destruction under his watch as governor. Travel back in time with me in your mind, back to May 2020, following the death of George Floyd at the hands of a Minneapolis police officer. But what began as presumably peaceful protests quickly spiraled into violent riots that ravaged the Twin Cities. Over several nights, rioters looted businesses, set fires to hundreds of structures, and infamously overran and torched the Minneapolis Police Department's 3rd Precinct, and a symbol of law enforcement literally going up in smoke. The damage was staggering, more than 1,500 buildings affected, with huge economic losses estimated in the billions of dollars. Neighborhoods burned, lives were upended, and the fabric of communities was torn apart. Critics, including local leaders and Republicans, lambasted Governor Walz for his delayed response and mobilizing the National Guard. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey had requested Guard assistance early, but Walz didn't fully activate and deploy them until the following day, and after the worst of the violence had already peaked. In the interim, The riots spread unchecked, with reports of arson, vandalism, and clashes that left lasting scars on the city and its residents. This hesitation stands in sharp contrast to Tim Walz's current keyboard warrior rhetoric. Back in 2020, as governor, he was the one responsible for restoring order in his state, yet the response was seen by many as too little, too late, allowing the fire to rage while he figuratively poured gasoline on it through inaction. Interestingly, even President Trump then, on a phone call with governors, urged decisive action and offered federal support, warning that without it, he might invoke the Insurrection Act to send in troops. President Trump even praised Tim Walz's eventual handling, noting in a recorded conversation that Walz had called up big numbers and the professionals left and took over. But this praise doesn't erase the criticism from others, including Minnesota Republicans, who argued no balls Walz's delay enabled the destruction. Democrats at the time, including figures like Tim Walz, pushed back against Trump's threats of federal intervention, viewing them as authoritarian overreach, much like Walz's recent framing of similar proposals as declaring war. The hypocrisy deepens when considering the Democratic playbook on urban violence. And while Tim Walz and his party decry federal efforts to clean up cities as warmongering, their own governance in 2020 permitted riots to escalate into infernos. Fast forward to today, and Trump's response to questions about addressing crime in places like Chicago underscored the divide. When pressed by reporter Yamiche Alcindor on whether the U.S. was going to war with Chicago, Trump shot back, putting the little lady in her place, and told the woman, "You never listen. That's why you're second rate. We're not going to war. We're going to clean up our cities so they don't kill 5 people every weekend. That's not war. That's common sense." Facts. But this pragmatic approach, focusing on safety and order, clashes with the Democratic narrative that paints such interventions as aggressive tyranny, even as their past inaction speaks volumes. In essence, the story of Tim Walz and the Democrats reveals a consistent pattern coming out of the left, and it's only getting worse. And that is tolerance for chaos when it aligns with progressive causes, but swift condemnation when conservatives seek to intervene. Yeah. And we all know what happens when Democrats have their way, right? The burned out shells of Minneapolis buildings and the abandoned 3rd Precinct serve as enduring reminders that rhetoric is cheap, but the cost of hypocrisy is paid by the people in the streets, those still alive and those who have perished. Peril as a result of real-time F around and find out. As America grapples with ongoing urban challenges, this double standard undermines trust and leadership and begs the question, if declaring war on disorder is abnormal, what does that make allowing cities to burn? One simple word will suffice, folks, and I'll let you all fill in the blank. Nevertheless, I stand with Trump, with MAGA, with America, with the flag, and like J.D. Vance said, I don't give a shit what you call it.
Are you considering attacking the cartels inside of Venezuela? You attack?
Well, you're going to find out. You're going to find out.
As we wrap up this discussion, I want to make it clear this video is brought to you straight from my own thoughts and opinions, shaped by a commitment to uncovering the truths that too often get buried. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the first time many of you are hearing about the tragic stabbing of Iryana Zorutska, a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee who fled war-torn Ukraine only to be fatally attacked in a random assault on Charlotte's light rail last month. The suspect, now named on Twitter by some accounts, DeCarlos Brown Jr., allegedly unfolded a knife and struck without provocation, leaving a young woman dead on the train while he fled the scene. And there's video proof of this happening. Yet, as voices on X have pointed out, major media outlets have been eerily silent. Take in wokeness's tally: zero stories from AP, PBS, New York Times, NPR, Wall Street Journal, BBC, CNN, WAPO, Reuters, or MSNBC. Matt Van Swole echoes this, listing with absolutely no coverage from NYT, CNN, Washington Post, MSNBC, NPR, USA Today, Reuters, Axios, ABC News, or PBS, while every one of them rushed to report on the Daniel Penny case. Completely missing the mark as always, but we know the truth, and posts like these nail the disparity. Simply put, a white man restraining an erratic black man sparks national outrage, but a black man brutally stabbing a quiet white girl minding her own business? Crickets. If not for platforms like X, would we even know? This selective blindness is why I'm dedicated to shedding light on the important topics, and more importantly, the underreported or completely ignored ones, unreported. That includes keeping you informed on the latest Medicare news, updates, changes, and deadlines, because your health and financial security shouldn't be left in the dark either. Speaking of which, if you're navigating Medicare, don't go at it alone. Turn to Chapter for free Medicare help and advice from licensed experts who can guide you through enrollment, optimize your coverage, and uncover savings you might miss. Being proactive is key. Call 270-467-2426 now for fast, free, professional advice and true Medicare expertise. Procrastinating can lead to horror stories, missed deadlines resulting in coverage gaps, unexpected out-of-pocket costs soaring into the thousands, or even denied claims during a health crisis that leaves you buried in debt. Don't let that happen to you or anyone you know and love. Act today to secure peace of mind tomorrow. Thank you for watching, and join me in this pursuit of truth.